Rachel Levinson, and I'm really excited to be here because my guest today is the one and only Shannon Waller.
Hi, Rachel. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you. Today I'm going to talk about unique ability, which has passion at its core. So this is really where we come into alignment. In terms of my own path, I started at this company, which is called Strategic Coach, which is a coaching program for very successful entrepreneurs who do not want to stop where they're at. Why I'm so excited about being here today is because I get to talk about one of the subjects that for me is most important in terms of how people are successful in their work, how they're successful in their life, how they're fulfilled and happy, and how people make the biggest contribution. Where I have kind of experimented with things I'm not good at, things I'm okay at, things I'm pretty good at but don't love, until finally I've been able to land in the place where I am doing what I love to do and what I'm best at and what I have a passion for. So thank you again very much for having me today.
Perfect. So let's define what unique ability actually even is for someone who has never perhaps heard the term before. In a really basic sort of rudimentary, here's what unique ability means. Here's sort of a simple way to evaluate your own unique ability.
Awesome. And it's actually really easy to do. I love breaking things down into their simpler components. So our original way of talking about unique ability is that unique ability has 4 characteristics. Number 1 is that you have superior skill. You are better at it than most people, and that is not just your ego talking. This is something where other people come to you, he's like, oh, you're really great at this, or oh, could you help me with that? The second point, and this is, again, what's so important to you and us as well, is the passion part. If you don't love it, it's not a unique ability, it's an excellent ability. So superior skill and passion. Without passion, it's not unique ability. It is the absolutely vital component to that. And the third one is that when you are doing your unique ability, it actually gives you energy. I've discovered I can be physically tired at the end of a day of coaching, but I'm a light. I'm on fire. I'm excited. I have new ideas. And energetically, I'm elevated is another way to talk about that. So that's kind of exciting that it's something that actually fuels you as opposed to drains you. If you think about a battery, it recharges you. And the last point, which is really, really interesting, because there's a little bit of a paradox here, is that with unique ability, you can always see room to get better. You can always see room for improvement. And it's not theoretical improvement, it's practical. But the only reason why you can see how you can get better is because you care so much, because you have that passion. So superior skill, passion gives you energy, and never-ending room for improvement. Those are really the key aspects of unique ability.
Doesn't one sort of lead to the next very organically and naturally? Chances are, if it is a high skill of yours, then you actually do love it. Even more so, the connector between the second component and the third component, if it's something you're passionate about and you love doing, that entails the definition of the third component, which is it invigorates you and it energizes you, right?
I think if you have a passion for it, automatically it gives you energy, and you can always see room for improvement. So those 3 definitely are very connected. We've discovered something really interesting about superior skill, and this is where you get really intelligent people who have tons of learning and they're well educated. And this is what we call the excellent trap. That's really where the distinction is. Superior skill, really good at it, often can lead you have an excellent ability, but without the passion, it doesn't lead to all those other things. And we find a number of people, especially in their entrepreneurial businesses or particularly people in a corporate career, they can be so highly skilled. They're incredibly talented. I've heard a lot of this about investment banking. But at some point, they don't burn out, they brown out. And there's this constant depletion of energy. So that's really where the line is. And the challenge is that with an excellent ability, they can feel trapped because they have all of these external rewards. People say great things about them. They get kudos, they get rewards, they get highly compensated, great teamwork, fabulous reputation. So they have all of these external rewards, but internally for them, it's not nourishing. It doesn't feed them in the same way. So one of the reasons why I was really excited to talk to you, because passion is your thing, that's the differentiator between excellent abilities and unique abilities. And once you put those things together, yes, constant invigoration and energy and never-ending improvement absolutely cascade from that. But unfortunately, I think a lot of people are trained into because they're intelligent and they've applied themselves and they've worked hard and they've often fulfilled their parents' dreams for them. They have, done what was expected of them, but they feel a little bit hollow or a little bit empty. And again, I think one of the reasons why I'm super excited to be talking with you is if we can stress to people to not downplay their passion, to not ignore it, and to actually give it some breathing room, pretty incredible things can happen. There is one other aspect of this I've found, and usually I do it for humor when I'm coaching unique ability, but there's a grain of truth to it. Sometimes we are really passionate about things that we're not very good at. It's fine to explore those passions, whether or not you have superior skill, because they still, make you feel great and you have fun, but you probably will not earn a living that way. So those are some of the distinctions we add to that conversation, if that's useful.
By the way, Dan Sullivan actually coined the term unique ability, correct?
It totally is. Can I tell you a brief story of how that came about? Because I think it's fairly fascinating.
Sure.
Dan, before he started with Strategic Coach, was actually a consultant to the Canadian government. And I think it was the year 1980 that was the year of the disabled. And he came from an advertising and marketing background, and he was commissioned by someone that he knew in the government to go across Canada and to interview 40 disabled people and to tell their stories. And of course, he did it in a very non-governmental way. So he had their photo, he had a really beautiful, succinct, and beautifully laid out kind of story about them, but he did 40 interviews with people who had physical, mental, different types of challenges. And he said he discovered something really, really interesting. Namely, that everyone had disabilities, but what made them special and what made them unique was what they loved to do and what they were really good at. And even if they had those other disabilities, there was still something at which they were unique. And then he had this other insight that all of us have disabilities. Some of them are more obvious than others. Some of them are more hidden. But all of us have things that we're not good at. All of us have things that when we put in the time and effort, we do not get the result. And so that's actually where the whole unique ability conversation came out of, was kind of interviewing people about the opposite, but he realized that there were some people making an incredible contribution to their community, despite the fact that they were in an iron lung. No one often knew of these people's disabilities because they were focusing on what they could do, not on what they couldn't do.
I love that. It's amazing that unique ability, that concept, was born out of disabilities. It's just amazing.
Now, Dan, a couple of years ago, added some new dimensions to unique ability, which was really fun. His number one, you'll love this, is passion, which he kind of says to include superior skill, so that's going to be one. The next one is that it's where you can be a hero to other people. This is where, when you do what you love to do best, they applaud, they want more, they're willing to pay you for it. It's where you add so much value to other people that they want more of it, and they call you a hero. And then the third point is it has a multiplier impact. It doesn't just benefit, in a one-to-one relationship. It's something that actually expands and has a multiple of effects, if you want to think about it, or byproduct.
Part of what Dan added, you said, to the new sort of definition of unique ability, or not new definition, but to sort of enhance it, is that piece of creating value to others and becoming a hero to others, which what I heard in my head when you were talking about that is the notion of contribution, right? And contributing not only to yourself, but to the people around you. By engaging in what you love most and what you do best, which what's better than that, right? So by adding value to yourself and engaging in your unique ability and what you're passionate about and doing what you were put on this earth to do is automatically going to contribute to others and add value to them.
That is such a great point. And here's the interesting thing, and this is partly why Dan sort of evolved the concept, is because unique ability does not operate in isolation. You can't just have your unique ability and stay in your room. It doesn't contribute anything. And so unique ability is really where you are having an impact. And the other thing that the hero word brings in is the fact that there needs to be the right audience for your unique ability. And so it could be, because you can be doing your unique ability in front of an audience that is fabulous and claps and applauds and appreciates you and says great things and rewards you. and uses your talents and helps you get better and refers you to others. Or you can be in front of an audience that's like, really? You're still doing your unique ability, it's just not in front of the right people. And so clearly you're not having an impact with audience 2, but you really are having an impact with audience 1. And my own example about this is I coached our very, 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 very first, we then called it the youth program. And the age range was from 16 to 24. And I'm often the lead dog in testing out new concepts and new ideas. And what happened was we ended up having someone who was in high school and someone who was there married with 2 children. It's quite the spread of attendees. At 11:30 in the morning, I was looking at my watch going, is the day over yet? Can I leave? Because even though I love coaching and I love our concepts and the day was a success, let me assure you of that, I thought, I don't think I liked being 18, much less coaching it. I never want to do this again, and I never have. It is not my audience. We have someone else in the company, Kathy Davis, who is genius at this. She coaches all of our sessions that we hold for. Now it's 18 to 24, by the way. But you know, that was not my audience. I love coaching team members. I love coaching team leaders, and I love coaching entrepreneurs and their teams together. Period. That is my audience. And so being really clear on that and who I care most about and who I want to be a hero to, one of the questions Dan asks people all the time is, you know, to whom do you want to be a hero? Do you want to be a hero to everybody, or should we narrow down the audience a little bit? You know, it's the difference between someone who wants to be a movie actor versus a stage actor. You know, who do you want applauding you? who do you care to create value with? Which is really, who do you want to serve? You know, whose life do you want to make better as a result of you doing what you love to do? And I think that's such an important question. Certainly I know when we first started the unique ability conversation, it was much more about what's in you and what do you want to do. But the corollary to that is for whom. And I find that makes a massive difference in terms of people's success and impact and just how confident they feel, is because when you do your unique ability in front of the wrong audience, they don't give you much back. It's not very fulfilling and not very satisfying. Or if they do clap, you're like, oh, I don't really like you anyway. So it's, again, not all that nourishing. And when you're in front of your right audience, it's just, you know, you just feel like you've discovered your reason for being on the planet. So I think that hero part, and I'm glad you asked about that, because it's so vital. You know, who do you care about? Who do you want to make an impact for? Who do you want to serve? Who do you want to really appreciate what you have to give? And that could be a great starting point, because that's where to go play over there with them. That's going to be, they'll help you figure out how you can create the most value for them.
Going back to those passions that aren't a unique ability, that, you know, it's not a high competency skill for you. Sometimes those passions that are just hobbies perhaps, and you may not end up making a living off those passions, but they do bring you alive. They do give you that sense of joy and fulfillment that our passions do. By engaging in them and exploring them, it might lead to your true passion that's tied into also your unique ability.
I think that's a fabulous point, because there's a bit of a through line when you can get a bead on your passion. There's something about what you're doing and how you're doing it that just brings you to life. So even before you have the skills, you know, all of us have a potential unique ability when we're little, but we don't know very much. So we have to get skilled. We train ourselves. We gain experience. We gain knowledge. So you might be educating your passion, which is kind of a neat way to think about it. But I love that idea of kind of starting with your passion and then building your skill set around that to see whether or not it's something you can develop into something even bigger that has more impact and creates even more value. I mean, that's not an approach we tend to start with at Strategic Coach, but I think I might just add that in there. I really like that.
Yay! And even those passions that indirectly, you know, lead to discovering your skill set, even if it's not directly. So for example, you bring up the examples of if you love sports, but let's say you just don't have what it takes, you don't have the skills to be an NBA pro basketball player, but maybe, you know, it's something in that world that you love that brings you alive, and you have a skill to teach or to coach.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe you're a brilliant number cruncher And maybe you're trained as an accountant or something like that, and you may be highly skilled at it but don't love it, and you have a passion for basketball. Well, maybe you end up being a basketball statistician, or figuring out in terms of the hiring process and how you can contribute to that. There's some pretty fascinating ways how those things can come together. But if you don't, I just love what you said, because if you don't pay attention to your passion or don't fulfill it in some way, you'll never go there. You'll never come up with the creative ideas for how could you mesh this. And what I know is that when people are in those situations where they're really passionate, first of all, to take sports as an example, we are willing to pay people a lot of money to watch them work in their unique ability. Think about anyone in entertainment, sports, which is also another form of entertainment. We plunk down lots of our hard-earned money to watch people work at what they're best at and most love to do. And what I know is that when you're fulfilling that, when you're going into your passion, new things will bubble up. You'll put things together that you wouldn't have otherwise. So I think it's such an important, I think people can get disconnected from their passion. So when you connect with it in any way, shape, or form, I find that it tends to create new opportunities. So again, I think pursuing that passion and being willing to make the commitment and have the courage to do it, even if you're terrible at the beginning, even if you have no idea what you're doing, makes complete sense, because that investment will always be maximized.
It's amazing how everything interconnects, and that's part of why I love Unique Ability so much, because it really parallels Seize Your Passion in that way, where if you just start engaging and start having that conversation with yourself and understanding yourself and exploring, and curiosity is such a big part of that as well. You never know where that will lead, even if you don't have a clear definition today of what your unique ability is, what your superior skill is, what your passion is, and how to leverage that into your life and into your career. So I love that whole conversation that we're having. I think one of the biggest questions for a lot of people out there is, well, what if I don't know what I'm passionate about? What if I don't know what my passion is, my purpose, my mission? What if I haven't found it yet? Given the 4 components of its definition, with passion being one of them and a key one of them, how can unique ability be a tool or a strategy to help people go out there and seize their passion and maybe even discover it for the first time?
It's a great question, because I always think of unique ability as sort of the end point. So you raise a really interesting question. And here's the thing about unique ability. Everyone has one. It's as individual as your fingerprint. But we completely and totally take it for granted. It's that thing we do automatically, and we think it's so easy that everyone else can do it, and everyone else can do it the way that we do it. That is so not the case. We are all incredibly uniquely put together. And so a lot of the seizing your passion has to do with paying attention and not taking it for granted. So I would say that it really takes being alert to what your passion is. Again, it's that thing that you've probably been doing since you were 6. I know people who have been confidants to their friends, to their family. I know people who have given relationship coaching since they were in grade 5, and it's the thing they just automatically do, but they don't appreciate it. And so a lot of it is being willing to look through the lens of the fact that, oh, not everyone else is like me. Not everyone can do what I do with the same amount of ease or skill or just naturalness, if that's a word. So again, I think it's actually in you this moment. You just simply have to pay attention to it and be alert to it. That's really the secret. And certainly the process of discovering your unique ability will completely highlight that. There's one exercise, Rachel, that I want to share that might be really useful for everyone watching, and that is what we call sending out your unique ability letter. And this works, you could substitute the word passion just as easily. And we suggest that people send out a letter. They can say, hey, I'm reading this book, or I'm going through this process, or I'm in this course, and I'm working on figuring out my unique ability, my passion. What do you think is my unique ability? What do you appreciate about me? What do you count on me for? And what's really fascinating about those answers, and it's great to do it by email and do it to 8 to 10 people who've experienced you when you're striving, when you're working at something. And what's really powerful about it is that we all think that we're sort of hidden and we have this front stage that we give to other people. No, they completely see through us. And things that we thought were sort of common or not special or not obvious, people go, oh, I really count on you to be trustworthy. I count on you for your sense of humor. I count on your ability to always get to the best possible result. I always count on you to simplify really complex situations. The feedback you get from that conversation, that letter, these are things you put away and pull out when you're having a bad day, because they are so rewarding, they're so touching, and who we are is actually incredibly obvious to other people. So using other people as a mirror can be a phenomenal way to get that input. If you're kind of lost in your own head or own thoughts about it, getting feedback from other people will instantly clarify how you're special and unique in the world and how your passion is coming out. So that's an easy, takes a little bit of courage to send out the letters. Please do not ask what your faults are. That's a really bad idea. You already know what those are. You don't need anyone to tell you. But these are what's unique and special about you. And be willing to give that information back to them if they want. But that process is a great way to get, again, to use the world as a mirror to reflect back to you. And from that starting point, there's no end to how far you can progress.
So it's really a self-discovery process, and it's using the team, your people around you, to help collaborate with you on learning yourself and really gaining that self-awareness and that self-knowledge so that you can uncover what's already inside of you, which is your unique ability, your unique gift, which you probably just take for granted because it's inside of you, but you don't think of it as this special, unique ability and a skill that you can translate into your life and your career, correct?
I totally agree. And I think for a lot of us, we're taught to work on our weaknesses. You know, you get a whole bunch of A's on a report card and your parents or someone points out the B or the C and say, hey, what can you do to improve that? So we're kind of culturally, again, some families and school systems are different, but for the most part, we're taught to work on our weaknesses. And I love what Dan says. He says, you know, after a while, when you work on your weaknesses, you have really strong weaknesses, which is totally true. But that can make you fairly blind to what is special and unique and you know, interesting about you. So, because the school system is really interested in putting out cookie cutter people that can fit into a system. And unique ability is a very different part. And passion is a different conversation. Not everyone's having that conversation. That's why it's so important that you're connecting with people about what is inside them and how do you pull it out. So yes, I think it's a fascinating conversation, and I think it's important to realize that there are some cultural biases that kind of prevent us, or just we have some blinders on that kind of can keep us from seeing it. Once you start looking for it, it is right there, but you have to know to look for it.
I love that. I love that. I'm so happy you brought up that point about the way our culture sort of emphasizes our weaknesses and working on our weaknesses so that we can maybe one day become average, right? Because they want to fit us into a system where everyone is just average. But really, you know, unique ability and seize your passion is all about allowing people to focus on their strengths, to turn them into the superheroes that they are inside. And that is that unique gift, and that is that unique passion, and that is that unique ability. And I just love that part of it. And it's so important to bring into the dialogue, because you're right. You know, we're just wired by our culture to think about, okay, this is something I need to improve upon. And unique ability is about self-improvement, and it is about growth 100%, but it's about growing your unique ability and your strengths rather than your weaknesses, so that you become that superhero that you are.
So yeah, just the key thing is your passion. Without passion, it's not a unique ability. So that makes it an absolutely vital component. Otherwise, it's something else, which I think is just a great connection.
A lot of people might be intimidated by this whole rhetoric even of seize your passion, realize your dreams, you know, realize your potential, become the best you were meant here to be, fulfill your purpose, discover your unique ability, right? Because for some of us, that's a very big, bold vision, and that's fantastic, but that's not necessarily everyone's passion or purpose or mission or unique ability. But I think for a lot of people, they sort of feel intimidated, or, oh, this isn't for me, or I don't think big enough, or I don't fall into this category of even thinking about what do I need to discover my unique ability for? What do I need to seize my passion? when I'm just, I'm not building this grand vision or this bold dream. But that's so far from the truth. I think this is so applicable, unique ability and seizing your passion, to every one of us. Whatever our dreams are, whatever our purpose is, whatever our personal legend, and becoming that hero that we were put here to be is for each of us. And it is unique for each of us. And it doesn't always look the way you think it should look.
It's really interesting. And we've been talking about unique ability as sort of this big concept. And you're right, it can look very intimidating and very scary. It's like, but one of the ways that we look at unique ability is really interesting. And that is, one simple way is how you are happiest in your own skin. This is really the most you can possibly be. So, and you take it with you wherever you go. So, for example, part of the unique ability process is you come up with a statement that kind of encapsulates who you are, what you do, and why you do what you do. But it's not actually just applicable. It's very separate from goals. I need to really stress that. It's not that you want to go and change the world. You will by doing your unique ability, but that doesn't have to be your aspiration, the whole thing. The point here is just to figure out how you can be the best you, how you can fulfill what you can call them God-given talents, or your gifts that you've been born with. How can you maximize those? And so, for example, part of my unique ability statement is to intuitively perceive the essence of a situation and then compassionately communicate practical strategies that align people's thinking with what's real so they can be happier and more fulfilled in their life. Okay? Now, that may sound kind of big, but I have to tell you this. I do this when I'm at a cocktail party or a birthday party, as I was on the weekend, with friends. I do it hopefully with my children. I do it with my husband. I do it with my clients. I do it with my colleagues. I do it with my other team leaders. So this is when I'm doing that with all of those different people, I'm being my own and best self. If I can try and do any umpteen other things at which I'm not so good at, first of all, I'm not doing my unique ability. I can guarantee you I'm not creating as much value, and I'm not being me. And I've tried to create value doing something I'm bad at. It doesn't work very well. But the thing here is that your unique ability goes with you wherever you are. It goes to work with you, it goes home with you, it goes to your friends, it goes to your community, it goes to your church, it goes to your synagogue. It goes with you. And so when you can live out of it, you're going to create value for all of those different types of people. And that's kind of the goal, is how can you chip away at the stone to reveal a statue underneath that's actually the most you. And we have lots of stuff glommed onto us, I've decided. But how can you chip away at that is what is most you, how you want to make a difference, why you want to make a difference. Do you want to make people laugh so that they can get an alternative perspective and feel lighter in the world? I know that is one part of colleagues of mine, unique ability statement. I love that, and I love talking to him for that reason, because that's what he gives to me in our conversations. So it can be something simple. It doesn't have to be big and grandiose or complex. It can simply be, how are you creating value in every interaction that's important to you? Does that? I'm not sure if that answers your question, but those are some of my kind of thoughts about this big, intimidating conversation, how to bring it down to be very practical and very real.
Totally. And I have to say that last piece, I'm so glad I asked that question, because that, to me, that gave me chills the whole time you were talking, and it was the most inspiring. And it just brings it very real and very basic, which it all is. The most profound epiphanies and truths in this world are really simple, basic ones, and we somehow manage to complicate things and overthink them. But I think that last piece really, it helped me understand unique ability in a new way, and hopefully it was as inspiring for anyone watching as it was for me. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, it's not a job title. It's not a goal. It's an expression of you. I don't know any other way to say it. But it's fun when you get a handle on the elements of it, and that's kind of why I really like our unique ability discovery process. And I'll just show you the cover, because I did bring it down today. This is what it looks like. It's a little set that we have, and here's the notebook. And when you take yourself out for coffee and do it, you get to break down the components. So, Maya's intuitively perceive the essence of a situation. Other people might have analyze. That could be what they do. And it's important to me to compassionately communicate. I can just tell people what to do, and I've been known to do that, but it doesn't work very well. So compassion is a big part of how I want to do things. Practical strategies are also really, really important for me. So what's fun is I can be in my daily interaction with lots of different people. I can go, oh, that was compassionate. Or I can go, oh, that was practical. Or, oh, that was a strategy. It's really kind of fun because you get these little pings of energy. You're like, oh, okay, I'm doing my unique ability right now. It really is that simple. It doesn't have to be super complicated, but it means you have another level of self-awareness. This is kind of what we've been talking about. And you pay attention to it and don't take it for granted, because how you do what you do is special, and it's different than how I do it. It's special than how you do it or someone else. So it's just really appreciating the nuances and the differentiations between us, because then I get to be freed up. If I partner up with you, I get to be freed up to do what I do best and most love to do, and then I hopefully can free you up to do what you do best and most love to do, or leverage that in some way. And that kind of teamwork and partnership is the most exciting, but you can't get to it if you don't know who you are, if you don't know what your unique ability or your passion is.
It's magic. It's magic. I love it. So, what was that? What was that you held up for us? That's a workbook. Where could we get that? Where can we learn more about both Strategic Coach and Unique Ability? The books, the workbooks.
All the good stuff. There's a notebook. Take yourself out for coffee. Well, strategiccoach.com. We've got a great store. I'm also a big fan of Amazon, so by all means, go on to Amazon. Those are probably the best places to go and check out our different products, our services. If someone's an entrepreneur, definitely check out the Strategic Coach program. We wrote Unique Ability for, I would say, a general audience, not just for entrepreneurs. And part of the reason why we wrote the first book and we wrote the second book is people in our program were saying, I want to take this home to my spouse. I want to take this home to my kids. I need something. What have you got? At that point, we just had exercises. We didn't have any narrative around it, to use that term. And so that's what our clients are actually the ones who asked for it. It wasn't just something we thought, oh, the world needs this. People were saying, I need a way to be able to take this home because it's so important to me and it's been so enlightening and liberating and freeing. I want to be able to make it useful for other people. So that's where the whole initiative came from. I mean, I created the team programs because people were saying, can you please help me communicate what I'm doing to my team because I'm not doing a good job. So most of our products and services have all come out of people saying help in some way, shape, or form. So this Unique Ability 2.0 Discovery would be your number one go-to resource. If people in the program have access to one-on-one coaching, that is a multiple times more expensive way to do it. So this is really inexpensive. There's one other resource that I thought might be really interesting, Rachel, for people to know about, and I've sort of alluded to it a little bit. We have a process called the 4 C's, and it's the 4 C's growth formula. And step number 1 starts with commitment, which means you have to have a commitment to discovering your passion. You have to have a commitment to discovering your unique ability before the world will sort of align to support you. But often, as soon as we make that commitment, we're into what we call the courage phase. This is where you're like, why did I make this decision? What was I thinking? And you start to second guess yourself because immediately you're put into a state that's the opposite of confidence, which is where most of us like to spend time. And you're into that, oh no, butterflies in your tummy, what have I done? It's a bad decision. You start questioning yourself. But the stronger your commitment, the shorter the period of courage is. And out of that willingness to go through courage, you develop brand new capabilities. So you start to put those skills and those talents and that experience and that knowledge in place that we were talking about. And then eventually, and often it's not really all that long, you get to the place of confidence. And out of that place of confidence, you know what difference you're making, you know the contribution you're making, and then you can make a higher level, more challenging commitment and start the whole process over again. And this can start with learning something you don't know, like how to play the piano. It can be with going for a new job. It can be starting with a new hobby. It can be starting to go to a gym in the class and you're feeling self-conscious. It can be going for a walk if you haven't left your house for a long time. It can be big or little, it doesn't matter. But really understanding the stages of commitment, courage, capability, and confidence, and that is, in fact, the growth formula, I find very helpful. And having that scared moment be called courage is, to me, very encouraging. And I think that's kind of required for a lot of us when we go to pursue our unique ability and to pursue our passion and to figure out what our what our bigger expression of ourselves is going to be, it's going to take some commitment and courage before we get to capability and confidence. So one of our little quarterly books, it's only 60 some odd pages. It has cartoons, by the way. It's called the 4C's Growth Formula. So that would be another resource to pick up. There's an audio that I do with Dan Sullivan in that, and that would be something else I think that would be very useful and strategic in people's path to really to pursue their passion.
I love that. So the 4C's, unique ability, tons of content, resources, strategiccoach.com. I love that 4C's as just a simplified strategy to seize your passion and uncover your unique ability. And it's a self-perpetuating sort of endless circle, right? Because the confidence leads to more commitment, leads to more courage, leads to more capability, leads to more confidence, and so on and so on. And it's endless and limitless, which is what growth is all about. So I love that as a simplified tool and strategy to achieve that growth that so many of us are looking for.